Hello, beautiful souls. I am Brooke. I am an intuitive Reiki Master, psychic medium, and a channel for the divine. And I am sitting here with Miss Sara. Welcome back. I'm so excited to have you with me.
I'm excited for this one.
We have some exciting stuff to talk about. We have shared some very similar journeys and being able to connect those journeys to our birth chart and astro cartography. And I'm so excited to dive into this.
This is gonna be fun.
Yes. All right. So you and I shared the well, I guess we met when I was in Arizona, and you had been in Phoenix, and I was actually in Phoenix. And that's kind of what got all of this started when you and I first connected. And what was beautiful is, I had a lot of discoveries being there. And then you also had a lot of discoveries as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you had mentioned that when you were there that things went really good for you. You had a lot of abundance. Things were flowing very nicely. Do you want to kind of touch on that?
Yeah. I feel like, I will honestly say Phoenix is my soul's home. Like that's where my soul just awakened. It woke up. It was so beautiful, magical. I felt so aligned. The weather, I know everybody thinks the heat is weird, but the heat actually made me happy. I had like a spiritual, I don't know, it was just such a spiritually awakening time. Now, of course, this was also in 2020. So an interesting alignment in time there. And so, yeah, like that's when I really delve into astrology and spiritual healing, when I got into Reiki and energy healing. And so much just transpired for me when I was in Phoenix. And I think you kind of said some of the similar things, is like you did a lot of healing work out there too. And then just out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere, we both get yanked out of Arizona and back to places that don't align. And we're both like, what the fuck? And then we just started this conversation of like, what's going on, and exploring the astro maps and relocation. And I was like, we should talk about this because here's what I just want to drop this. Like, what I see for 2023 already is that, and I've talked to other spiritual workers who've said something similar, is that a lot of us who do spiritual work, we will be uprooted, possibly nomadic, or even just relocated to a different area that may not feel good. Like our ego is going to pitch a fit. But what I feel strongly is that the divine is really putting us in spaces that we may not like feel good in, but we're purposefully being put there because of our light work abilities, our psychic, our intuitions. Like what we offer for those geographic areas is necessary for that area. So we may not like it spiritually, or even like our ego may not like it, but there's a reason why we're being put there. And I like when I came to you with that, it's like, that's what we need to talk about. We need to do this before 2023. Because I feel like, and I've already noticed it with people, is that people are like, why do I have to go there? I don't want to move there. I don't have, like all the things, right? But I think as we move into 2023 and with Pluto moving into a new sign and Saturn moving out of its home signs, finally it's going to get out of my sun sign. But I feel like this is just something that we're going to experience, and that it's necessary for us to surrender to what we're being called to do and called to go, because what we have to offer the humans and these communities and these geographic regions, I know you have different healing capabilities than I do, and I think like what we have to bring to those areas is necessary for what humanity is evolving through. So that's why I felt like it was really important that we bring this, into a conversation and really show people what it's about.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. 100%. And, I guess what was absolutely beautiful for me is I was being pulled last year to key locations. And once I discovered astrocartography, those key locations were key harmonious placements with my chart. And it was kind of like, holy shit, okay, it makes sense now. Now I know why I had that huge pull to that area, to that land, and being able to go and do the healing and do the work. So many beautiful gifts were unlocked.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will add to that that there are places that you're called to, not only for the community of the collective, but you're called to it for yourself. And, like I'm in central Illinois, southeast central Illinois right now. I've lived in Chicago, and my Chiron line runs through this part of Illinois. And I'm like, shit, like I have to be here because it's part of my healing to be in this area. And, there's, like you said, there's different parts of my chart that I'm just like, oh, okay, now I know why I had to go there. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we may not like it, we may not, and I think like there's a part of our soul that needs it. There's a part of the collective that needs it, but also, I feel like there was another part of this I wanted to talk about too, which is that there's a reason why some people never move from where they are. And one, they may never have to, because it may not be in their chart code for them to have to move. And two, that may be what's holding them back from healing the depths of their soul. So when I was looking at someone's chart that I have saved in I didn't put this in the slides, but just to give an example, I have somebody's chart in my Astro collection. Their sun is conjunct their Pluto, and it runs straight through their hometown. And that person has never left their geographic region. And as I'm looking at it intuitively, I'm like, that's why, because it takes them too far away from where their heart and soul belongs. So there's so many ways to look at this that it's, astrology to me is as simple as looking at charts, but it's also not as simple as looking at charts and knowing, what I'm saying? Like, you have to look at things combined in the story and how it, how the archetypes work and all that. So
yeah, very, very, very true. I had a little bit of a discovery this morning, discovering that I'm literally on a disharmonious line. It goes right through Morristown, where I went to college. And it's my Mercury line. So, I had a lot of trauma happen there.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why when I'm in Tennessee, or I'm in East Tennessee, or even Knoxville, the energy is just not fluid for me. And in being a channeler, that's a big thing to pay attention to, because Mercury is the planet that I pull from in order to be able to channel.
Yeah. And as I was looking at mine, not only did I notice my Chiron line that runs through this east side of Illinois, but my Jupiter, which is also my ascendant line, runs through like Dallas, just west of Dallas, just west of Omaha, Nebraska. And interesting about those, I've been in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas for extremely random, no good reasons other than I was just there, just random reasons. But I was also on a train across America in 2019 to go to California, and we were delayed in just west of Omaha, Nebraska. We were delayed for hours.
Oh, wow.
In that area. And I'm like, I was meant to sit on my Jupiter ascension line. Like, I was meant to be on that line. And like, that's just part of the growth and expansion. And so all of that. So my ascension, in this east side of my ascension line, I'm a Scorpio rising. On the west side, so more like Arizona, California, Nevada, those areas, I'm a Libra rising. And I was like, well, I don't feel the least bit connected to Libra at all. But then as I was talking to my astrology mentor, he pointed out that he's like, yeah, but how are you different in California and Arizona than you were, in the Midwest? I was like, well, I dress differently and my relationships changed, but that's because it was warmer in California and Arizona and I could dress differently. He's like, it doesn't matter how it manifests. You were still a Libra rising. And it was like, oh, so and that kind of brings up like our temperaments are different, our appearance can be different, our how we heal not only ourselves but how we present ourselves as light workers, you know, will be different depending on where we are with our rising and other planet placements in our chart. So
yeah, same. I actually progressed to a Leo rising
yeah,
in Arizona, which makes sense. You know, I really did feel that Leo energy.
yeah, yeah. I felt like you were more outgoing when you were in Arizona.
Oh, for sure. I in Oklahoma, I was on my Saturn line. It went straight through Oklahoma City, and my moon line was parallel with that, and that actually went straight through Dallas. I was very restricted, but I did love the energy. I've become pretty good friends with Saturn.
So have I.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been in my sun sign for a while.
Transit over my moon so many times the last year. You know, it's definitely become a friend. I've learned how to work with the energy, and as long as you're working with it, you know, Saturn is actually really, really good. It can feel very restrictive. I didn't want to get out and explore and meet people. It was literally all about the work.
I've been in a Saturn square my moon like all damn year. I'm ready, and I can't say I'm ready for Saturn to be done because I'm a 29-degree Aquarius sun. So I don't actually get done with Saturn until he's well into Pisces.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, I'm with Saturn, and I are good friends right now.
Yeah. Same, because as soon as he's done with my moon, he goes to my sun.
So
yay.
So I kind of want to like back up a little bit because I want to share like a little bit of my nomad journey, because why it like, and in fact, if you want to put up my my Astro map chart.
Is there one in particular? The first one?
It should be the one with the US map, the North America map.
Okay.
You see that one?
Let's see. I'm going to share my screen. All right.
Okay. So we should see my Jupiter line down like the center of the US.
Yes.
And so in 2019, I left my Chiron line in Chicago and crossed my Jupiter line out to the West Coast, crossing my my Pluto and my Venus, or my Venus and then my Pluto line. And then I went back on the train, back through these same lines, my Pluto, my Venus, my Jupiter, back to my Chiron. I was supposed to stay at Chiron, but no, I went on to Arizona because it's warm in Arizona. What's interesting about Arizona is my Pluto line runs through the western part of Arizona.
Yeah.
I would also like to point out that my Pluto and my Venus line crisscrossed between Elko and Las Vegas, Nevada, and I've been to both of those cities for various reasons. So it's almost like my soul needed to go across this Pluto line and this Venus line. I've also been to SoCal, and I love SoCal. But I'm not probably meant to live in SoCal, but I definitely feed off of the ocean and all of that. So, and there may be a reason for that. I'm not sure what the purple line is out in the ocean, but I really want to just point out that like the crisscross of my Pluto and my Venus, and how my Pluto line lands in Arizona, it's almost like my soul loves that, like loves Arizona. It loves being there. But I think like one of the things I really want to like point out is like I've been to the East Coast a couple of times. My Mars and my Sun are out there. I hate it out there.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the East Coast at all. But when we're pulled to these places, when we feel like spirit's calling us to go to these locations, it's not punishment. Like me being drawn back to my Chiron line, which is where I'm at geographically right now, it's not punishment. It's part of our journey. It's part of our healing to be, I remember my spiritual mentor saying, like, I'm the type of person who needs to go across these lines.
Yes.
And I think it's important to note that not everybody is meant to go across these lines and have these same journeys, like, right? Like it's not, and it's almost like, look at it when you've been to those places and come back from those places, and then you'll kind of have this realization of like why it needed to happen. But like I said, I have somebody who has their Pluto sun straight through the middle of their location of where they live. And I'm like, oh, that's why they're not meant to live anywhere but those locations.
Now, my Pluto and my sun go straight. My sun goes straight through Nashville, and then my Pluto is a little west of Nashville.
And is that roughly where you were born and raised?
I was born in Texas, but I was raised 30 minutes from my disharmony Mercury line. So, which is kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to show your map and kind of talk about it?
Let's see. Okay, so this is just the basic. I hadn't even clicked my harmonious aspects just yet. And I am here, okay, and my disharmony Mercury line goes through here, and my sun harmonious line goes through here. So what's interesting is my Saturn line goes through Dallas and Oklahoma City, but so does my moon line as well. So I did click my harmonious aspects and I added them to the next one, and I'll show you because they kind of both go hand in hand. Okay, so this is close to, okay, so this is west. I had my north node literally went through Phoenix. So that
needed to be there.
Yeah, that was literally going to my new karma, my new energy, literally following my north node.
Yeah.
Let's see. And this one I made a little bigger. So these are my harmonious aspects. I do not have the East Coast on here, but as you can see, my midheaven Mercury line also went through and met with my north node line. And here you can see my moon being parallel to my Saturn line in Oklahoma, which I was a little hesitant at first, having Saturn transit my moon. Okay, is this going to be a good astrological place for me to be? And honestly, that's kind of where my relationship with Saturn really started. I also have my Uranus midheaven line that goes parallel to my Mercury. And what's interesting is Don't Trip was literally right here, right in between the both of them. Let's see, my Chiron goes right through Vegas and does cross over my my Uranus line, which I want to say where this cross happens, it's in Lake Havasu.
Have you been there? You've been there.
Yes, I did. And I actually went and did a healing there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And then moving to the East Coast, you can see right here, my sun line is going right through Nashville. And then my Pluto line is just to the left of it, just a little bit. And I also have my Jupiter line that goes through North Carolina, South Carolina, and then it's going through the bottom of Florida. So I have been drawn to my Jupiter line, to be honest with you, getting closer to that line. The only thing is that it's connected to my IC. So with it being connected to my IC, it's going to activate my sun, my Jupiter in my chart, and my North Node. So that's really going to activate my grand water trine, because I have Jupiter in Scorpio, my sun in Pisces, and my North Node in Cancer in the 12th, 8th, and 4th house. So that's really going to activate that energy.
That could be interesting. That could be, maybe you're just not ready for that yet.
Well, the door's open. It's open for me to go explore that energy at any moment. I don't know. Like 2 months ago, I was ready to go. I was ready to jump into it. Now I'm kind of like, okay, well, it's in my IC. Is that going backwards? You know?
Yeah.
Because I am about to have Jupiter transit it's in my 9th house right now. So Jupiter really is the planet that has been expanding me to move to these different key points and locations.
Yeah.
And that's going to be opposing when Jupiter actually goes into my 10th house. It's going to be opposing my natal Jupiter.
Gotcha.
So
I
don't know.
The time yet.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's see.
But I think like this is why it's important to look at this and not just look at a relocation chart and be like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to be a Libra rising. Okay, but it also, it's important to look at all of these aspects and the current transits, right? Like I can tell you that I was living in California in 2019, and in 2020, I was working with a life coach, astrologer, Reiki person, and she's like, you should go home. And I was like, I am not going. I mean, I threw a fit. I was not going home. But because Saturn is camping out of my 4th house, like it was, and I have a 4th house as Aquarius for me, which is where my sun is, where my Mars is, and several other little minor planets and asteroids. Like I had to. And then Arizona happened, and I think Arizona needed to happen, and now I'm back home. And so, which is, and I feel like until Saturn moves on, this is where I'm going to be. So, do I know where is next for me geographically? No, but like sometimes the astrology is like guiding us to a place. There's always a reason why. There's something there that we need. And if we can get past the ego trip of, I don't want to go there, throwing the tantrum, right? I've thrown mine. Then we see like, okay, I don't like being here at home. There's a lot of limitations for me being at home. That's totally Saturn. But I'm also able to study more astrology, study more tarot, get into my healing work and doing what I do. And so, so there's reasons why we're guided to these places or not guided to a place. If you feel energetically off about a place, don't go. There's probably a reason why, and you don't really need a chart to tell you that.
Yeah, I have put a lot of focus on my harmonious aspects and not looked at the disharmonious aspect as much until I noticed that I was literally in a disharmonious aspect, being in East Tennessee. Makes sense as to why shit went all to hell the further east I went, because I'm actually in that disharmonious energy.
I have felt that every time I go east. I've been east a few times in my life, like twice. One time I went to Philadelphia for a week with my cousin, and I got sicker than a dog, like worst allergy
Mhm.
I can't even explain, but that was not good. The only other time I went to Buffalo, New York, and I was driving back from Canada, and while Niagara Falls was beautiful, I had like the worst sunburn, so I was completely uncomfortable the whole time because I
Mhm.
was riding in a car for hours after a sunburn. Um, and this goes back to like what I said about like it doesn't matter how it manifests. The point is that in certain geographic locations, you're gonna have a different experience, whether it's a shit, I'm never coming back here again, or
Mhm.
a, oh, okay, I was completely different person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And one thing I want to touch on is your chart completely changes when you change locations. I know we touched on that a little bit with our rising, but
mhm.
someone had mentioned to me that when you have a stellium, you don't want to move to a location to where that stellium breaks up. You don't want to have a split
Ooh.
in it. And what's interesting is being here, I have a split in my stellium in the fourth house. Being in Arizona, I also have a split in my stellium in the first house or in my fourth house as well,
Interesting.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's it's my chart here is completely different than what my chart in Texas and Arizona, like completely different. And I do say when I am closer to my natal chart of where I was born, the energy does feel better because that's the energy that I was born into.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I remember Teal Swan saying something oh, I don't remember when, probably like a year ago I saw this video, but who knows when it actually was produced. But she said something about when you're about to go through a life change or your life's about to change dramatically, or something in your life has come to an end, it's time to go back home and like drink the water of your home land or home area, like be in the energy of where you were born
Mhm.
or raised, and so that you almost, and that's what I have felt as I've come back home, is this has felt like a giant reset for me.
Mhm.
Like my body is integrating the changes, the healing work that I've done, and now the energetic healing that I provide. My body needed to come back physically to this geographic region
Mhm.
to hard reset and to integrate and upgrade itself to the next level up for me energetically and as a healer and as a astrologer and all of that. Like it's because it's so much slower here, right? I've lived in big cities, I've lived in um, where I've had to be on the go commuting all of the time. Whereas here, I'm not doing that. It's slower, I can rest more, it's quieter, so I can kind of process more. I'm a line 6 in human design. So
Mhm.
it's and I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. So it's been an opportunity for me to really integrate at the pace my body needs to integrate, which I'm a 6-2 manifesting generator. Asking me to slow down is like asking for a miracle because I am not a slow down person.
Yeah.
But when you are elevating to that next level of spiritual work, whether for yourself or for the collective who you're healing, we're always sending out, as we are empaths and intuitives, we're sending it out. We have to integrate, we have to level it up,
Mhm.
and we need to give our bodies that time and space to do that. So I think there's something to what Teal Swan said and what you're experiencing and what I'm experiencing of this hard slow the fuck down so that your body can adjust to what frequencies you've given it.
Yes. Yes, I agree 100%. Yeah. And I do see myself probably going back towards either Arizona or Texas.
I agree. I
Yeah.
actually am going to Arizona in September next year. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I already got it on the calendar, at least for a
I do
weekend. But
see myself definitely going back in that direction.
I agree.
When I'm not really sure.
Me
Uh,
neither.
and, for me, I guess the last year was just doing the healing work. That's all I was really focused on. And being able to send the healing not only to myself, but to the land, and to allow for the healing sent to the land to be rippled out in the collective that it's around as well.
Yeah, I definitely foresee me going back to Arizona, probably at least temporarily to live. I don't know. I feel like I don't really have a clue what's next for me. And I think that's the beautiful part of surrendering to this kind of a journey, is that you really don't know where you're going to be called to next.
Mhm.
And what I'm excited for with Arizona is an Aquarius. It's an Aquarius state. I can't remember what the date is on their chart, but I was listening to an astrologer who lives in Arizona talk about it. And so Arizona could be the initiation of the next United States revolution. And I'm an Aquarius sun with Uranus in my first house. So I'm all about like humanitarian, the best for humanity, and being a part of a revolution and bringing it all in, like all of it.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
It's well, I mean, it's been a huge battleground.
it
If
has.
you just look at what's been going on collectively,
Yep.
it's been a
Hmm.
big battleground with, the fight for, who's going to be in control.
Correct.
Hmm.
Correct. And I don't know if you saw this. I know you were out west of Phoenix. I was closer to Phoenix, but in a suburb of Phoenix. But I spent a lot of time in downtown Phoenix. And the thing I noticed in the 2 years that I was there was it really started to look more like Chicago or San Francisco, where I had been previously. And that was kind of what pulled me away from it, because I was like, I don't really want to see Phoenix go this direction.
And it
Um,
is, it's almost scary.
it is. It's
Mhm.
sad. It's sad
Yeah,
to see where it's going. But I
yeah.
also think that there's enough wild west fight in Arizona with those who are, born and raised there. I think there's enough fight in them that will be the central, at least the initiation of change for our country. So um I think I think most of the other states of course sort of succumb to, I mean, I'm in Illinois, so I don't know if you know a lot about Illinois, but it's very divided here. um Extremely divided. And it's a hard place to live because you've got it's almost like the north and south part of Arizona, or of Illinois rather, is uh like living in two different states.
Yeah.
And it's really awkward, whereas I feel like Arizona, they're not there yet. And I think there's enough fight left in Arizona that Arizona's not going to let it happen that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was greatly shocked to see the state turn blue.
I was too. Oh, I
And
don't
I
trust
was
that.
like, hmm,
I don't trust that.
hmm. I find this really hard to believe because, you know, being there from what I had seen and experienced with people, like it is a
Yeah.
very red state, if you get what I'm saying.
I
Like,
do. It is a very red state.
mhm,
One of the things that I loved about being in Arizona was the men were very gentlemanly. Um, they were holding doors and, ma'am, can I help you with this? Ma'am, can I help you with that? Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, and I don't know about your experience living in blue areas, but men just don't give a fuck. So, not to hate on men at all. That's not what I'm trying to do, but I am trying to say that there is something to be said for gentlemen being gentlemen,
mhm,
men being men. And even the women would hold doors if they saw you carrying an armload of stuff or whatever it was. So I
mhm,
feel like that's what attracted me to Arizona, was like, this is fantastic. Like the attitude, the mindset, the souls were different. And it
mhm,
was something that I had never seen, because I was born and raised in a blue state and I'd always lived in blue areas. So it was something I hadn't seen, but it was something that I desired for myself. Like that's how I am as a person, right? Like I want to do good for people. Till you fuck with me, then I might treat you like shit, but that's a whole nother story.
right.
But I just I I loved that Arizonans kind of were, you know, there for each other in like the smallest little ways. You know, it was fun. It was fun to be there.
Well, Knoxville is very blue. Okay. In
Hmm.
a red state. It's
Yeah.
very blue. And, you know, from being in 8 different states over the last 6 months, I was completely shocked to get back here and to see it's not as free
Yeah.
as the state claims.
Yeah.
I have seen more, I mean, workers are still wearing gloves, you know,
Hmm.
people are still wearing masks.
Yep.
And I'm just kind of like, okay.
What's interesting about you saying that is that, and this is where we as humans really do need to take a stand for not only ourselves but each other, is that I spend a lot of time in medical places here because I'm here, you know, helping out my family, and there's a lot of medical stuff going on. So I've been in and out of doctors' offices and whatnot. And you know the people because it's a small town, so everybody knows your name. It's like Cheers. But to see people in a medical establishment or a medical field tell you that you have to wear something that you don't want to wear, and they don't want you to have to wear it, but they're also not willing to stand up for you.
Hmm.
They're not willing to stand up against these policies and stand up against the retardedness of it. I'll call it like it is. It's
Yeah.
retarded.
Hmm. I agree. I'm with you.
And to have people that are in the medical field not taking that stand because, well, we're just told to do it. Okay, this is where we as a collective community, humans like need to take a stand. If you know it's bad or stupid or stop doing it.
Yeah.
That's how this stops.
Hmm. Yeah. I can say I didn't see any of that in Arizona. And I get back here and I'm like, well, did I just travel back to,
Step in time warp.
whoa, what is happening? And you know, the mind control is pretty like it's pretty strong here. Very
Same
strong.
as it's
So
been
in
Missouri is very similar to Arizona in that Missouri is uh actually has the cheapest gas in the country, by the way. Um, I've driven through there with friends a couple of times. So they do have really good gas prices there, but it's also very free. Even during the height of it all in 2020, I was there for probably, I think I was on the west side of Missouri for 6 days. That and Orange County, California are the two freest, and Arizona, like, were the freest places I've ever been during this whole fiasco.
now Oklahoma, it was not like that.
Really?
Mm-mm. No. I didn't see many people. No, no. Oklahoma was pretty free. Texas, yeah. New
Texas was weird
Mexico,
to me.
New
New Mexico.
Mexico was the worst.
New Mexico has the weirdest, darkest vibe I can't even explain to you, but I have driven through New Mexico multiple times to and from Texas to Arizona, from Arizona back to Illinois. I've driven through and I get the ickiest, weirdest, darkest, no offense to anybody from New Mexico. I'm sure you love it there, but
Yeah.
that place has the vibe of get me the fuck out of this state right now. I cannot wait to, I mean, I would like praise God every time I crossed out of the state line. I don't know what is going on there, but
Yeah, I had to stop and get gas and go to the bathroom, and I was ran out of a store because I would not put a mask on.
I have never experienced that, and I would argue that it's because I'm blind and I carry a cane.
Like literally, they told me you're not allowed to be in here, and I was like, well, okay, I guess
Oh.
I'll keep a driving another 30 minutes and find another gas station, I'll give them my money.
Yep. And I think that's another thing too, is like, you know, if you don't align with a business, stop giving them your money.
Mm-hmm.
Stop giving them your money. Stop shopping there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that being said, do I still use Amazon? Yes, I do, because I do not drive and it's easy to have things delivered to my house. Okay. And it's convenient in this moment. However, I'm constantly searching for alternatives. I am constantly looking and researching, like, can I find something different from Amazon that'll align with me more than Amazon does?
Mm-hmm.
But Kohl's, do I need to go to Kohl's? No, that place is gross. Like, it feels gross. The place, like, I went into a store and I was just like, I don't ever need to shop here again. This place is creepy.
Yeah.
So I think, like, you know, as far as like geographic location, you really have to go with your vibe, but you also have to be aware that, like, there's two parts to this, because there's go with your vibe. Because if I had it my way, I'd be in either Arizona or Southern California. Because those are the two places that I just freaking love the most. I love the ocean, San Clemente, Oceanside, those cities. Oh my God, I was so happy there. But it's not a place I need to live. It's a place I need to go to get ocean. And to get the vibe of the beachy life. But the beachy life is not for me. It's not the way it's not how I want to live. But it's a place I love. Arizona fills my soul. It fills my cup. There's just like so much about Arizona that I love. It's missing water, which is why I go to SoCal. But so there's this whole,
and it's so close.
It's so close. Like, it's literally, it is. It's like an hour flight away to John Wayne Airport from Phoenix. It's an hour. So I spent New Year's in SoCal this beginning of this year, and I was just like, this is so okay. Anyway, okay, so there's that level of like, your soul needs to go there because your soul loves it and your heart is there and all of the things. Then there's the whole like, well, okay, if our heart is drawn to that place, why shouldn't we stay there if that's our soul's home? Okay, so let me use my friend as an example, because she's also her soul lives in San Clemente. And she lived there for 2 or 3 years, and then she started really nomading. She did RV life with a partner she was with, and then she's been nomading most of this year. But this year she decided she was going to build a van, so she's doing van life. To build her van, she had to come back to Northwest Indiana. Okay. I don't know her chart. I don't know what her astro map looks like. I wanted to look, but I forgot to ask her. But so she came back to Northwest Indiana to build the van. But she strategically planned it so that she would be out of the Midwest by winter, because not unlike myself, she does not like cold. And now she's back out in California. So if you're watching this and you're like, well, if our soul's home is here, then why do we go back to these places where we don't feel at home? It's kind of like what I said before. There's a part of you that needs to go back there. There's a part of your heart, your body. I will say your body, because as we're healing and upgrading, our body has to adjust to the healing and the upgrading, like I said before about the integration. And sometimes the only way to do that is to geographically be in a place that provides that for you.
Well, my roots are here. My kids are here. You know, if my kids were not here, I wouldn't be in Tennessee.
That's what, like, family's here too. So if my family wasn't here, I wouldn't be here either. And it's important because we are in this change of frequency. We're in a lot of generational and ancestral things coming up with all these frequencies and energy changes. We have to connect back to that.
And you know, after going through and healing everything that I did, because I grounded the feminine energy here, I also need to ground the masculine energy here as well.
that's so brilliant because as a Libra rising, that's where my feminine shined. I was like dresses all the time and just totally in my feminine. And now I'm in this area where it's very masculine here. It's
Mhm.
very do. And I am not a do person. I'm a be.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am a be person.
Same here. Okay, same here. But again, I do believe this goes back to the programming of,
Go.
yeah, yeah. You have to be constantly busy. You have to be constantly working. You have to be constantly, you have to not only be busy, but you got to look busy too. And if you are not looking busy and being busy, then you are not doing anything.
You're a lazy piece of shit.
Right?
Now, I don't know if you've noticed this in where you're at, but where I'm at, people aren't working.
Really?
There are generations of people working. So like I'm 43 and my brothers are older than me. But the younger generation is numbed out. They are numbed out. And my brothers both work in factories. They've both worked, like my oldest brother, who's in his Chiron return. He is work as much as he can work, overtime as much as he can. And when he's not working at work, he's working at home because he does all of his other hobbies. And my mom is very much the same way, and she's in her early 70s. But the younger, so the factories that are around here are having really big trouble getting people to work more than a week.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Wonder why.
well, okay, let's go back to the masculine feminine and the balance of the two, because as we approach, I don't know if you've heard any other astrologer talk about the pendulum of the masculine feminine and the balance of it all. But as we approach Saturn moving into Pisces, first of all, we've been in this idea of this healing of the feminine. So the feminine has been pulling up, the feminine's been rising. Okay. Which means a lot of people are floating in this. And of course, we've got a lot of Piscean energy right now. So everybody's been kind of floaty, right? We've also got Gemini and things like that going on. So there's been a lot of floaty, mind muckery type energy.
Yeah.
That I feel like is the rise of the feminine. But now, and I feel like this is why you and I have been pulled back to these areas, and why other people may be pulled back to these areas too, is that there's got to be a balance between the masculine and feminine. But both of these have to heal. There's a lot of wounded masculine and feminine energy. And the work is the wounded masculine. That's my opinion. I might be wrong. But this is wounded masculinity.
Yeah.
And masculines.
The need to be busy is a trauma response.
Correct. And then when they're not busy, they're either at home busy or they're out drinking and numbing out busy.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of war fought on this land too.
Yes.
And so if there's a lot of death here already on the land, that naturally is going to change the energetic vibration. So like for me, before I left in the summer, that whole year prior was, okay, clear the energy of war from here because so much war has been fought. Clear, ding, my thing just went off. Clear. And, now it's okay, go in and ground, healing, healthy energy.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I'm doing behind the scenes.
Yes.
Just energetically being here.
Yes. And this is the thing about being a light worker or being an energy healer. You don't have to do anything. You are literally, like, I don't know about you, but this is how I feel it. Like I am constantly just processing the healing for people, for the collective. Now, what's interesting about where I live is I am in Southern Illinois, so land of Lincoln. so Abraham Lincoln, and we, with this Jupiter, Neptune, Pisces that we haven't seen since, I don't know, 1855, when Lincoln was very politically active in Southern Illinois. And I did a little deep dive on Illinois just to kind of like, what's going on? Like, what's really going on with this area? There was a lot of divisiveness in Southern Illinois as the Civil War approached. So yes, just like you're saying, there's a lot of war energy here too. So in fact, there's arguments that Southern Illinois is more Southern than some of the Southern states. Just the mindsets here are of that, they're very redneck here, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's where they are. I'm not judging or criticizing them. It's where they are. It's very farm community. It's a factory community. But like you said, it's like the generation upon generation of farmers, of factory workers, that's never healed itself. So the damage is to the point, and now that we're in this like humanity evolving, it's like their bodies are breaking apart.
Yeah, and interesting that you say that, because I'm actually on his vice president's, where his vice president's from, is from where I grew up.
Where you grew up?
That area.
Interesting.
Because when you brought up Lincoln, I was like, hold on.
So there is a town not too far south of me. It's called Olney, Illinois. That is where Lincoln did a talk that practically tore Olney apart, because obviously there were people on both sides of the spectrum there. So, and I'm 20 minutes north of Olney. So yeah, how interesting that we both have that connection.
Yeah.
Girl, we just keep finding out stuff about ourselves.
I love it. I have been connecting with so many beautiful divine feminines, and the healing journey and the journey that we have all walked has been a lot of mirroring. So like, I know I channeled several months ago that, really before true divine union takes place, it's going to be the union of all of us coming together, and the union of us rising together, and really, coming together to work, to share collectively what's going on behind the scenes, how this is connecting to the astrology, and how this connects to history, and then see how it's actually mirroring everything that we're seeing now.
Yes. And I have experienced this several times in the last couple of months. I've been on several healing circle type calls wherein, women have come together and talked openly about things that are maybe considered taboo, or we shouldn't talk about that, or don't talk about it. But it's been things like what kind of relationships we've had with men, and why we're afraid to get into a relationship with men. And I've also had calls with women who talk about being childless and child-free, and what that's done for us or meant for us in our lives. And I think it's been really interesting that in the child-free, childless call, there was no man present, but there was a man in the call. It was during the full moon eclipse in Taurus. And there was a man present on that call. And as he was hearing all of us openly talk about, our not so healthy relationships with men, he was very heartbroken that we had all experienced that with men. Now, there was no premise to that call. It was just bring whatever you're experiencing in this full moon. And there was like 5 women talking about their relationships with men. It was not planned that way. It's just how it came out. So it's kind of interesting. But I think that this is what's happening, is women are talking about why and what is really harboring within them, and if we look back at our families and our lineage, we see the not so healthy relationships that were sort of like, publicly they looked good, but privately it was disastrous for both the man and the woman involved. And I think that bringing these things to light is what's offering the healing of and the balance for the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So I absolutely agree. I think divine unions are not just going to happen.
Yeah.
I think there's a ton of healing that needs to take place with both genders and with both energies before divine unions are going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100% with that.
So I think this is where building relationships with each other, not only as women, but, you know, women with men, and openly talking about these things. You know, men need to hear this. And a lot of men that are doing their healing work are open to hearing it. They want to know.
Yes, yes. It isn't that narcissistic projection of, you know, you're talking about it because you're still not healed yet. You have more work to do, you know. I'm like, okay, hold on. You're projecting instead of, you know, being humble enough to open and hear how, okay, you know what, you may be doing some of these things too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is why it's not so simple to just look at, you know, I just joined TikTok, so now I'm on TikTok and I see all these little videos of astrology, and, you know, oh, you can find out where you're supposed to live by looking at your relocate. No, it's not that simple. It's really not that simple. You can look at an, like I said before, you can look at an astrology chart, whatever type of chart it is, and you can see the certain things, but really spiritual and energetic healing is far deeper than that.
Yes, and I am actually in a it's a private healing group, and one of the ladies that I am with on this journey, as she transitioned elements, there was a lot of things that actually come up within her body. And so her and I were about to sit down and really dive into her charts and see, okay, why did all this get brought up? If you're going through the healing and it's supposed to be a healing experience, working with the fire, the air, the earth, the water, the ethers, why did all of this start manifesting in such a negative way? And so it's going to be interesting to be able to dive into her stuff as well and see, okay, what was the energetic lines, what was being healed, and look at her chart relocation for where she was at as well. Like she moved from air into earth, and she said it literally felt like a crash landing because
I bet
what happened, you know, after that. And, you know, I'm like, okay, listen, you're in earth. We don't need to move you anymore. We need to get you geographically located in a good spot before you do any more transition into any more elements. And I mean, I feel it too when I'm going through the elements within the group as well. It is very intense because I process things at such a higher level than most people don't. Feel things at such a higher level that most people don't. And she's a Scorpio too. So she's in there with me, you know, because I'm kind of like a hidden Scorpio, sun and moon in the 8th.
Yeah. I have a rising, a moon, and Uranus in the first house, Scorpio. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You get it.
Okay, so I had done a lot of healing work this year because I'd worked with a spiritual mentor, studied astrology, studied human design, studied a lot of things, and thought I knew Scorpio season was going to be intense. Like I had looked ahead in August and I was like, oh shit, this Scorpio season's gonna be crazy. Thought I was all prepared and ready for it. I was not ready for that full moon in Taurus eclipse at all. I was not prepared at all for that. And why? Because it was on my 1st and 7th house axis. So my 1st house is Scorpio, my 7th house is Taurus, and I have Chiron oppose my ascendant. So wow, I had a lot come up, like every insecurity, every like. Here's the interesting thing I'll say about myself is that I have a 12th house Pluto. So I have had many moments of suicidal tendencies in my life. If I had not done the healing that I have done, I guarantee you that moon would have taken me out, because I was so just like, this was not a good place. I was in tears the whole weekend. It was really traumatic because so many of my insecurities came out, my relationship stuff, just who I am as a person. And oh my God, I was so not prepared for that. I was like, I don't even know how I got through that one, but that's where that healing is doing its thing, is when know that you have to process through emotions.
What degree did that happen at?
3 Taurus, or was it 5 Taurus? The full moon I believe it was 3 degrees, because my ascendant and Chiron are 5 degrees, so it was on me. I know it was square something too, probably because it was a fixed, and I have a lot of fixed energy in my chart. So anytime there's a lot of fixed aspecting going on, I definitely feel it emotionally and all of the things. So, but I think like that's like the testimony to healing is that.
Well, listen, the moon was actually, it was conjunct, well, it was close to Uranus, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're right. It was at 16 Taurus. If it was conjunct Uranus.
Okay, so hold on. It was at 6:02 a.m. Let's go down to the hours.
So if that was the case, it was on my moon in Uranus, because my moon and Uranus are 19 and 20 Scorpio.
So it was conjunct my Chiron. Yeah. I thought it was, but I wanted to double check.
Both of those moons were on me like a motherfucker. So the first one I like sailed, the Scorpio eclipse I sailed through, but the Taurus eclipse I did not sail through.
Yeah, and see, I'd already had the Mars, Uranus, North Node conjunction on my Chiron as well. And that was in August. Is that when they come together?
Yes, it was July. Actually, that was the day that I chose to go sober. It was when Mars conjunct Uranus. That was like July 31st.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and this is so perfect because with what we're talking about, because it's going to affect you differently depending on geographically where you are.
Well, and I was in Arizona healing the masculine heart, discovering that every time I cried, it rained. Hence the conjunction on my Chiron. It was a pretty powerful one.
I just had a lot of release between that conjunction and that Aquarius full moon. My body was purging. Which is why I thought I was prepared for the Scorpio season. I wasn't.
I guess after going through that and after walking through the year that I had, it was just kind of like, okay, whatever comes, and that was kind of my attitude. It was easy. Those points were harder for me, like the Mars and Jupiter conjunction that happened in May. That one was harder. And then the Mars Uranus North Node conjunction, those two were harder than the eclipse that was conjunct my Chiron as well. And it's almost like I was building up with those conjunctions to
Yeah.
really, with that eclipse, it was just released.
Yeah. And that could have been my release point too. I did cry a lot during the Taurus lunar eclipse. I cried a lot. And now that I think about it, it might have just been that I had come to some realizations that like subconscious realizations that now have physically in the last few days have like I've been become more consciously aware.
Yeah.
So it could have been just some subconscious awareness that now I'm finally starting to consciously be aware of that I could have been releasing during that eclipse.
Yeah.
So
We've been through some pretty intense transits, and I've
we
been
have.
personal with a lot of them. You know, I've had a lot of my natal planets going through having the planets literally, and you got to think these are generational planets that are
Yeah.
hitting a lot of my, you know, my Chiron, my Venus, because I've had Uranus on my Chiron, and I've had Pluto on my Venus. So there's been a lot of wounds deeply connected to generation, deeply connected to masculine energy, deeply connected to my mother, deeply connected to all of that. And it's, you know, like with the moon last night, it was kind of like, okay, this is it. I am finally over these contracts. I'm not doing this fucking work for anybody else.
That's how this moon has felt for me too. I'm like, okay. And I'm hearing that a lot of people are just done.
Yeah.
They're done with a lot of shit.
I'm done.
Yep.
I'm not energetically going to carry or heal anybody else.
Nope.
Like, you get your karma, you get what you get for your choices. I'm not doing the work for you. Done.
So interesting you bring up Pluto and Venus, because I've been thinking a lot about Pluto being when it was on my Venus, which was in 2015, was on my Venus. And that was when I had an emotionally and financially abusive relationship that ended in a restraining order. And I then, like, after that relationship ended was when a lot of my other relationships, like that relationship showed me what was going on with my friendships and other relationships. And I've been single since that relationship in 2015, but I am noticing a carbon copy of my relationship with a friend of mine. And I'm sitting here like, damn, I so want to save him from this because I know what this is. I know what this looks like. Like, it's a carbon copy, but I'm like,
yeah, but you can't.
All I can do is send him all of the love I can, just heartfelt energy and let him go through this. Like, you can't save people from their shit. They have to go through it. And I was, telling somebody else today, it's like, I hate watching people go through hurt, right? My heart is Aquarius, it's Uranus, and it's very humanitarian. And I want to always save people from going through hurt. But I also, from a healing perspective, I know that people have to go through hurt to be healed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like to watch a carbon copy of what I experienced happening with somebody that I care about. It's like, shit.
Yeah. And, you have to set that boundary as well. It's, you have to have, and hey, you know what? You can either take the advice and learn from what I went through. And if you don't want to, you want to learn the hard way, so be it.
Yep. I guess that's your karma.
Yeah. We're not here to save or do the work or pull anybody else up.
No.
Like, those days are over.
No, and I think that's kind of also important in relocation is like, you can't be in a geographic place because other people think that's where you're supposed to be. You can't do that to yourself. Like, if that were the case, I'd have never moved away from home because my family didn't want me to. They always wanted me to stay here, but I had to. I had to do my journey.
Yeah.
And to come back here after my journey and before my next journey, because I feel like my journey is just beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be back here with my family, I'm just like, okay, like there's so much of me that's like ready to go forward to the next journey, but I'm also like, I'm not quite ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, whether my ego likes it or not.
Right.
But we can't go places because, first of all, never move somewhere for a relationship. That's always a bad idea. I've done that before. That I don't recommend that. Don't go somewhere for a relationship, and don't go somewhere just.
Well, I guess it really depends on your birth chart.
That's true.
Because for me, sun and the moon in the eighth house, it's kind of about
Merging.
mhm.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
like for me, it would
It
be
could
a
happen.
completely different thing, you know?
Yeah, it could happen.
Hmm.
It could totally happen. I don't have anything in my eighth house except for my vertex, which is just a measurement point. It's not I don't think it's an actual, like,
Asteroid.
it's not, no, I don't think it's an actual body. It's just a point.
Hmm.
So,
Like White Moon Selena.
mm,
It's the white light version of
mm-hmm. It's the white light version of your, oh shit, I just read it the other day because I was looking at it because the full moon was on my vertex, which means I'm at my midpoint of my soul's journey, because it was also the Gemini full moon was, let me think, would it be square? Because my nodes are Pisces, Virgo. So it would have been square my nodes, trine my Pluto in Libra, and my part of fortune in Aquarius. So yes, so this is like the midpoint of my journey, my soul's journey. I don't know that that means I'm going to die in 43 years, but just, I don't think that at all. But I think it's the midpoint of my soul's growth, which means that my perception that this is my reset for the next level of my journey is precise. It's right on, because this was on my vertex. Fascinating.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You know, I'm going to have Jupiter in my 10th house over the next year and a half. So, like
Ooh.
this year, in doing my solar return chart was really about me, not
Mm-hmm.
about my relationships. It was not about, like, that was all South Node energy for me.
Yep.
It was about my journey, my healing, my my journey, my healing. It was all about me, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be interesting to see moving into, because my birthday is going to be coming up, moving into next year, um, if that's going to change. Because I do feel like for me, there is a relationship that's coming in, and
I feel it too.
it's going to be coming in at the end of the year, really. At the end of the year, the beginning of the next year is when it's going to be coming in. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah, and my South Node is in my 5th house. So my 11th house, groups, communities, innovation. I'm an Aquarius and I am stoked for Pluto and Aquarius. So who knows what I'm actually going to create with groups and communities and whatnot. I was also going to say my solar arc Venus conjuncts my sun and Venus in January. And I'm like, does this mean I'm going to like get a relationship? Ooh,
Possibly.
that could be good. That could be good. Yeah, that's a big transit. I spotted that one a month ago and I was playing with charts and I was like, oh, this could be good.
Yeah.
And I want to be with somebody who is a collaborator. I'm a 6 line, so I want to create community. I want to create an environment for people that want to evolve and want to grow. And I think that does look like traveling and being a nomad. And my friend who's doing van life now, I'm just like, I got to see her van in November or in October, and I was just like, this is so cool. Like, so
I love it. I mean, I would totally be open to that too.
yeah, I think that's kind of like the thing with light work is like, we aren't meant to sit still and do this work. Like, we're meant to grid and spread our light. The idea of all of us congregating in one geographic region is not a good idea because we cannot do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
not, we can't do that. Like, to me, that's counterintuitive to what this work feels like, because my friend who's doing van life, she has a company called Hearts Unleashed, and it's an international business, and she is also a book publisher. And so a lot of her travel is going to different book launches for her publishing authors, of which I will be one soon.
I love that.
And she goes to different places to speak because she does public speaking.
Uh-huh.
And so basically, like, people are like, well, isn't it more expensive? Well, here's the thing. No, it's not, because it'd be more expensive for her to get an apartment in San Clemente, California, which is very expensive, Orange County.
And
And
then
I'm not,
and
and
travel.
then have to travel and get an Airbnb and get a hotel and do this and do that, when she can just travel in her van, where she's got her apartment in her van. That's why a lot of digital nomads are being able to do this. And this is why they're being able to spread their light, because they're going everywhere and gridding and spreading. And the more we do this, the more this golden light is spreading all over, whether it's the world or even just the US or whatever.
Mhm.
Right? Like, we're not meant to sit still
Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
this. Some people are. There's nothing wrong. I have friends who live in stable environments. They have families, they have children, and they do light work from where they are. Right? That's why I said light work isn't about doing anything. It's how you are. You don't have to, there's no physical contract to physically be in a location. It's light work is doing light work. It's being the light, being the divine light that you're here to be in this time and in this space, wherever you're meant to be it. And some of us are meant to be in one geographic location, and that's where we're meant to be. Others of us are meant to travel and move all over and shine it everywhere we go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. Because that's been a lot of what I've been doing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Yeah. And
Same.
being able to connect it to my chart has been pretty phenomenal. Because
Yep.
I had Jupiter in my 9th house. So that's expanding,
Yep.
the travel aspect of it.
Jupiter is about to trine my Jupiter again. I think this is my
Nice.
third, because I got Jupiter trine my Jupiter 3 times in the past. I think this is the last one because he's direct. So I won't get it again because I don't think he will retrograde back to Pisces again. So this is my third Jupiter trine Jupiter that I've gotten over the past however long, year and a half, year.
Nice.
I was going to say something else. Oh, the advantage of being me in all this light work that I do is I don't drive, which sounds like a real big disadvantage. But as I'm having this conversation and we're talking about this, and because most people who nomad do it in their car, they do it in their van. And yes, they get to meet different people along their journey, but not in the same way that I do. So I'm legally blind. So I travel via public transit, which means I fly, train, bus, however it works. Sometimes I do ride with friends and family, but most of the time it's public transit.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? That means that I interact with people, because when I go to an airport, I get an airport guide who guides me to, through security to wherever I need to go, and to, bless you, and to my gate. When I take a train, I'm interacting with the people on the train. When I traveled out to California, I met a group of people on the train and I hung out and played cards and all of the things with them. And then, I've taken like Greyhound buses. I take all our forms of transit because it's just fun that way. But because I get that experience differently than a lot of nomads, is it spreads my light that much further, right? It allows me to interact with people on a different level. It's not just a gas station, it's not just a, campsite or whatever. It's people that work in public transit, that ride public transit. And so it's a different experience for me.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's as valuable as any other light worker, because not a lot of light workers travel like I do, or a lot of nomads travel like I do. So
Yeah.
that's kind of fun to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Honestly. And, I took a train from San Francisco back to San Clemente, and it takes a long time.
It does.
I was quite shocked. Like, I expected it to go a lot faster, but it don't, because you make a lot of
No.
stops.
There's a lot of stops along the way. So Chicago to Emeryville, California was supposed to be 72 hours. It ended up taking 82 because we got delayed in western Nebraska, which again, that's where my ascendant line is. So that's kind of funny. But the train ride back from California did take 72 hours, but it was magical because I didn't meet as many people, I didn't connect with as many people, but I also spent more time staring at mountains and just incredible scenic views along that train route. When I went to Dallas earlier this year, I flew out and then I took the bus back and met other nomads that were doing the same thing. So
I love it.
like, and it's like, people look at nomads, and he sat with me, and so we got to have this little nomad chat. And people are like, oh my God, how could you choose a nomad life? And we kind of just glanced at each other, and we're both like, you don't choose nomad life. Nomad life chooses you. Because most people who end up being nomads, like, that's not how they started. That wasn't the intention. And it just, but then all of a sudden you're like house sitting or getting an Airbnb or whatever, just to go to a different place. So your scene changes and your writing changes and your creativity changes, like, but it's because you're traveling, and when you travel, your chart changes. And so you get like this burst, like, so.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So
I've been judged hard for this, but I was also in my destiny cards. I had a lot of fives, so that means a lot of change, a lot of movement, a lot of going where I'm being directed to go, a lot of surrender, and trusting the process, trusting the journey.
Yep.
I mean, I am definitely excited to embark on a new journey.
Same.
That's going to have a little less traveling because I have traveled so much. I'm like, over it. But I also know the reason why I had to do that is because I was not embracing transition and change, having a sun and a moon in the 8th house.
Yeah.
So in order to get into that flow and that transition, okay, because Scorpio's always transition. Okay. It's not fixed. And I was pretty fixed. So I had to embrace it.
I'm giggling because I have so much Scorpio that I'm just like, my life is in constant flux. Like, I'm constantly in transformation mode, to the point where sometimes I'm just like, can I be done? But they feel like to be done would mean I'm done doing all of it, and I'm not. Like, that's not where I want to be. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, I'm exhausted. Can I stop transforming now? No. You signed up for this one.
Yeah. So true. So true.
I'll also say this about astrology is, you and I took on doing this relocation kind of after we had done our journeys, and sort of like we talked about at the beginning, like going back and looking at these charts and being like, oh yeah, that's why So sometimes it's not a matter of go to an astrologer to find out this is where you should go next, but sometimes it's just go where you feel guided and then go back and look at the astrology and be like, oh
Uh-huh. Yeah, that there was a lot of aha moments for me in doing that. And it was major confirmation
yeah,
that I was going in the direction that I was meant to be going in.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You know, when we looked at my map and you saw my Pluto go through with Las Vegas. I've been to Las Vegas twice in my life. It's not a place that thrills me at all. The 2 times I was there, one was for work and one was for school. And when I was there for my job, it was the last big thing I did in my job before I quit my job in 2010. When I went there for school in 2013, I met a dear friend of mine. But I also fell and sprained my ankle in the middle of the strip of Vegas. So that was fun. And I flew home with an ice pack on my ankle. So yeah, I haven't had good experiences in Vegas.
I have a lot of magic that happens in Vegas.
Isn't that your North Node though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's close to that. So I have a lot of magic that takes place there.
Yeah. Not a place I really want to go. Not really. I don't have much interest.
Yeah, but I was really shocked to see how dirty it is and how like,
Well, it is the desert.
no, I'm talking like
Oh, all the dark filth.
the people and the trash and
Yeah.
the roads were just ugh.
Same with San
When I
Francisco.
say it was dirty, it was like oh.
Same with San Francisco. San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco is a disgrace to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you people pay this much money and this place is filthy.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's beautiful. It has its beautiful things, but downtown San Francisco is not beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. And you know, Phoenix was getting the same way.
Yep. I was really brokenhearted to see Phoenix go that way when right before I left, it was a year ago, Christmas. And I had a friend who lived downtown. So whenever I'd go to his house, I would walk along the one of the canals that ran through that area.
Mm-hmm.
And in November, when I did this walk in at Thanksgiving, nobody was out like normal. Like there's hardly anybody out and about in Phoenix. And by December, when I did the same walk, like the whole west side of the canal where I walked was tent camps and homelessness. And then my friend that I stayed with in Phoenix, she's like, oh yeah, I see it all up and down, Black Canyon Highway. She's like, it's starting to look like Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just sad to see
Yeah.
that happening.
Yeah. So many homeless people.
We really got to flip the switch and try and take care of humanity, like as humans, I mean, I know we're doing our part, but it's just a message out to everybody. Like we can't count on the authoritative powers that be to take care of ourselves. We actually need to step up and do it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Any closing thoughts on this whole relocation? This was like all over, but I feel like it was great.
Yeah, I had an amazing time. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
It's beautiful to be able to get on here and connect with you and to hear and share your wisdom.
Thank you. And just to so my contact info, Sara Divinely You on YouTube, Instagram. I'm now on TikTok. And I do astrology readings. I do energy work. So if you are looking for any of that, definitely reach out to me on any of those platforms and we can make that happen.
Absolutely. All right, sister. Thank you so
much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.